everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of Brunswald. In today's episode, we are going to be finishing up the harbor and this whole industrial area around it. So we'll be working on a sewage treatment plant, a recycling center, and also the industry stuff. So yeah, that's the plan for today's episode, but we are starting off here by putting down some of these, I guess, oil storage tanks. Which I definitely wanted to have. These are pretty common in harbors for sure. So I wanted to have some of these here. These are by Avania, and they're actually sort of converted to the industry DLC. So they make some, the noise that comes from those tanks, or tankers, whatever, the noise is pretty realistic. It has some nice ambient sounds, and I think that is from the industry DLC. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and they also just sort of act within the gameplay of the industry DLC, which is pretty nice. So yeah, I have 4 of the more smaller ones, or I guess medium-sized ones, and then we have one big one, which I think turned out pretty good. Yeah, I'm just fencing this all off here, and yeah, so this is gonna be the only storage area we have for, I guess, oil, and we won't really have any like oil tanker ships or anything like that. I was thinking about doing that because this is like right next to the water and in the port. So my plan sort of was to have some tanker oil tanker ships connected to all of this, but I actually ended up not having them. It just didn't really fit in this area. This place was just a little bit too small to have those. Because it's just between the ferry ship and the container ships there, and that area is just pretty tight to fit any ship in, and I couldn't really find any smaller like oil tanker ships. There were only like big ones, so yeah, that's why I decided to just not go for that. So yeah, but I still think it turned out pretty nice, and yeah, so now we're putting down another big warehouse here, and this is pretty much what we're gonna do in this episode, just putting down a lot of industrial buildings. I sort of picked out a few industrial buildings that I wanted to have, using that tag tool that got added in some game updates. I can't remember which one. I think that might have been in the industry DLC, maybe I'm wrong about that, but when you select or when you hover over some item in the Find It menu, there is like a tag symbol on it, and you can just type in something there for that asset, and you type in the same name for another asset, and they both will show up when you search for it. So I just looked through some industrial buildings, and I tagged them all with Brunswald, and just very easy to do that instead of just putting down like all of the buildings in one area and then just like using movie to place them again. So this is just, I guess, a more sophisticated way of doing it. So yeah, just a bit easier, and I think it worked pretty nice, and I'll probably be using that method again. Alright, so now I'm adding this like small area here for this warehouse, and this is where I would imagine that like the workers would maybe go out on their break. Because I am adding a bench here and like a bin or whatever, and I guess they could just sit there and have their break and maybe smoke or whatever they want to do. So I thought that would be pretty realistic. That's usually the stuff you see in these like warehouses. So yeah, alright, so now we're getting into this recycling center drop-off points, where like normal cars just go with their I guess scrap or whatever, just parts or things they don't want to have anymore. They just pull in with their vehicle here next to one of these containers, I guess there would be, and they just throw everything in those containers that they don't want to have. And I've seen some suggestions for this, and I can't remember who it was, but someone said that I should do something like this, and yeah, I think it was a very good idea. And I think it turned out pretty cool. I've been to these a few times in real life, so that's, I guess, a little bit of the inspiration. But also, like, mainly all for this is just this whole asset by Avania, which is really good, actually. And yeah, I just put down some like ploppable asphalt and using some of these curb networks. And these curb networks are just so useful. Like I've been using these everywhere lately, and yeah, they're just really good if you want to make these more custom roads with asphalt, and I don't know, just make them look a little bit better, or sort of show traffic where they're supposed to go, which is in this case, in this drop-off area here. I just put those there to make, I guess, artificial roads or whatever. And then just putting down like some arrows and stuff a little bit later on, and on these like asphalt roads like this. And you can actually get a pretty good result, even if you're only using asphalt and none of the actual roads, I guess. Yeah, I'm using these asphalt roads, and they are very nice, but when you connect them up to a normal road, there always is that glitch in the ground. Like you can see some blue stuff just clipping through, and that's pretty annoying. But how I solve that is just place some ploppable asphalt at that, I guess, node, and just this sunken down ploppable asphalt I usually place down, and it sort of gets rid of that. And sometimes you have to use those curbs by Ronix, I think it is, and if you have like some holes and stuff in the roads, which can look pretty weird. But yeah, so mainly just ploppable asphalt I'm using to sort of cover up that glitch that usually comes with those asphalt roads. And it overall just turns out pretty good. But yeah, so now we're getting into working on this sewage treatment plant here. So this is something I've been wanting to have for Brunswald, just putting down, I guess, more actual, I guess, what would you say, like services and stuff to actually supply Brunswald without having to have just temporary stuff that I've had before, just outside in just a random spot in the map. And yeah, so actually just putting down stuff like this. So as you saw before, we put down like the recycling center, so now we can actually have garbage trucks running around the city. And now we have this sewage treatment plant over here as well, which is gonna be nice. And I actually had to sink down a water tower here, because apparently none of these sewage treatment plant assets by Ronix work as a water pumping station. I know there are some other ones, but I didn't really think those fit very well into this. So I actually had to take the water tower that Evan made for Berrysville, but yeah, I picked the I actually picked the well, that doesn't really matter if I picked the unbranded or Berrysville version. But I had to sink that down. I had to like place a few of those down and just sink that down in the ground underneath a building to actually get some water supply. Because I think all of these like basins and these treatment plants, I think they just supply like cleaning for the water, so just sewage and no water supply. So yeah, I didn't really expect that, so yeah, had to just sink down some water towers, which is super legit. And yeah, but these treatment plants here, they're really cool because they actually are animated, which is very nice. So you have those things spinning around inside of them, which is pretty cool. And then I'm just placing down a few gates and stuff here. But I'm gonna let you listen to some music now. And this episode is actually pretty long. It's like 26 minutes or something like that. So I think I'll have like 3, I guess, voiceover segments in this episode. I usually only have 2. But yeah, I'm gonna let you listen to some music now, and then I'll tune back again. And yeah, enjoy some music. Alright, so now we're working on this DHL distribution center, and this asset is pretty cool because it actually acts as a postal service from the Industries DLC, I think. And yeah, that's pretty cool because I don't really have any postal service in the city. So I think it's pretty neat that we have this now, so that actually has some good gameplay in it as well, not only for aesthetics. So I guess that's pretty cool. And I had some DHL vehicles, like those smaller trucks that I put down. I had those as vehicles in like a pack. But I also got like a bunch of other postal or like delivery brands and stuff like that. And I decided to like disable most of those. I think I only kept like FedEx and UPS and DHL. I kind of only wanted to have DHL because they were actually coming out from that distribution center, and it just felt a little bit weird to have UPS trucks coming out of a DHL distribution center. So first I actually tried to disable all of the vehicles that weren't DHL. But I couldn't really get any DHL trucks to spawn, which was kind of weird. And then I decided to just keep DHL, FedEx, and UPS, because I guess those are the most common brands, or companies, I guess. And then I actually have some trucks coming out of that distribution center. It might be a little bit weird to have FedEx trucks coming out from a DHL distribution center, but I don't really care at this point. So yeah, but now I'm putting down some of these UK warehouses, I guess, which are really nice. I think they're by Rick 4000. I hope I'm right about that. But yeah, these are really nice. I love the textures on them. They really look very grungy and yeah, just very, they just fit very well in this industrial area. And I think one of these are like a kitchen store or something like that, which I feel is pretty realistic to have in an area like this. And actually, I'm very happy how this turned out here, because I'm making some I guess custom parking there, which is I guess a little bit on an angle, which I think turned out pretty cool. I kind of want to do more of that sort of parking that is more of on an angle, I guess a 45-degree angle. And I think those parking lots that look like that are pretty nice and just more unique, I think. So I think I might try to do more of that in the city, because I really like how that looked. It does take up more props and that kind of stuff, but I think it's fine, because I really like how they look. Anyway, so now I'm just doing a lot of detailing behind these warehouses here with just random props, mostly by Beard Monkey, I think. And just a few containers and that kind of stuff, and obviously a bunch of decals as well, which just makes it look way more realistic, and then a truck as well. But yeah, I really like how this little area here turned out with all of these UK industrial units or warehouses or whatever they're called. And I think they just really turned out nice, because I don't really want to have like massive factories everywhere. It's nice to have some of these like smaller small shops or just warehouses and stuff. You don't really want to have like massive factories everywhere. So I think this was a kind of nice way of breaking up the repetitiveness with this industrial area. And now I'm getting into making this little scrap yard, I guess. So I want to just sort of talk about this quickly. And this is not meant to be trash that is stored in these piles here. I know these are like trash decals for like a landfill and stuff. They're trash piles, but I'm sort of more thinking that this is just like metal that is stored in these piles here, because we have the whole recycling center, and I feel like they have got rid of like landfills and stuff in Brunswald, because it's meant to be, I guess, a more cleaner city. So my idea here is just that these piles are just stored metal and stuff like that, which I think works really nice if you think of it that way. And I think it's pretty realistic, and I think this location turned out really nice, and I'm just very happy how this turned out with these piles here. Maybe not super nice to have these piles right next to where the vehicles queue up for the ferry, but I think it's fine because I added some trees there between in this little green area here, so they don't really see into these piles. And I think it would have been way worse if it was like trash on these piles here, but now it's just meant to be metal, so I think it's fine. And then I also put this trailer here with the truck that is sort of tipping off metal, I guess you could assume, which I think turned out really cool as well. And then just making another truck parking area here, because I wanted to have more truck parking in this harbor, because we obviously have the whole ferry terminal, and we have truck parking there, of course, but I think there was like 10 spots that we put down for the ferry terminal for trucks to park, and I kind of felt like that was a little bit, I don't know, I felt like that was too little to have in this harbor here. So I wanted to do another place for trucks to park, because this harbor is very like truck heavy. You have the whole container ports in one part of the harbor, and then you have the whole ferry terminal. So I feel like there would be a lot of trucks going around, and probably a lot of trucks waiting and stuff. So I think it would be nice to have some more truck parking, and that's why I decided to do this one. And I actually counted the amount of truck parking spots that we have. And we actually have 30 truck parking spots at this point in this harbor, which I think is pretty nice. So there's plenty of space for trucks to park. So we're starting to get to the end of this episode, and I'm just finally working on this UPS distribution center here as well, which I think works out pretty nice, and I think it looks pretty good. So we have a DHL distribution center and a UPS one. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I think definitely works well. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we're sort of done with the harbor at this point. Not 100%, but actually the stuff that we haven't finished up yet. There's just some small things, and I think I'm just gonna go in and do that off camera, to be honest. And yeah, because I don't think it's gonna be too fun to record that, and yeah, but hopefully I'll be able to include that in the cinematics and the before and after. But yeah, so the harbor is pretty much done. This has been a 3-episode project, and I think it was pretty fun to do. And I'm overall very happy with the harbor, and I think it looks really cool from above. So yeah, but if you've enjoyed these industrial episodes, I guess, and this episode, make sure to leave a like on this one, and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well. I've been starting to post more on Instagram, so definitely go and follow me there, and on Twitter as well. So that's gonna be all for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day, and bye-bye.